gentlemen, this is J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the 5th day of December, year of our Lord 2019. Welcome to the John Moore Show. We begin our shows with something that should take place in the House Judiciary Committee before they start their meetings, but they don't. Here in Crawford County, the County Commission, which is the group that runs the business of the county, they begin all their meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's a good time. And here it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Purpose tip of the day. I know you've heard this before. We always have new listeners. And that would be to learn how to read a topographical map, use a lensatic compass, do cross-country navigation. Very important skills. Maybe a matter of life and death to have those skills, quite frankly. And I would say less than 5% of the adults in this country can do what I just mentioned, use a topographical map and do cross-country navigation. We have open lines this first half hour. We'll have at the bottom of the hour my friend Tom Berryhill. We'll talk about a wireless healing device called the Energy Cleaner for 24 minutes. Top of the hour, too, we'll have the John Moore Radio Show economic advisor, Mr. Steve Hunt, with us, and then open lines that last half hour. Two new items on my website. You scroll down my homepage here at thelibertyman.com. You'll see a photograph of myself, Steve Ben Noon, his lovely wife, Jana. This is promoting the speaking event in Orlando, Florida, Saturday, the 8th day of February. You can get the details there and get your tickets also. Right next to that, apparently a liberal homosexual governor named Richard Lamb, former governor of Colorado, back in 2006, I believe it was. Let's see if I got a date here. Yeah, there's an article that he penned, and it was published by the Washington Examiner, a newspaper, the Washington Examiner. It's only 2 pages. And I thought this was so important that I had my webmaster, Tim Spencer, posted on my website. There's an audio commentary by the Fox commentator Mark Levin. And it's so important because this guy, he hits the nail on the head. He really does hit the nail on the head. And let's just see what he says here. It's not that long. He begins, this is date April 20, 2006, by Richard Lamb at the Washington Examiner. These are the words of Richard Lamb, not John Moore. I have a secret plan to destroy America. If you believe, as many do, that America is too smug, too white-bread, too self-satisfied, too rich, then let's destroy America. It's not that hard to do. History shows that nations are more fragile than their citizens think. No nation in history has survived the ravages of time. Arnold Toynbee observed that all great civilizations rise and they all fall, and that an autopsy of history would show that all great nations commit suicide. So here's my plan. Number 1, we must make America a bilingual, bicultural country. History shows that no nation can survive the tension, conflict, and antagonism of 2 competing languages and cultures. It is a blessing for an individual to be bilingual. It is a curse for a society to be bilingual. Scholar Seymour Martin Lipset put it this way: the histories of bilingual and bicultural societies that do not assimilate are histories of turmoil, tension, and tragedy. Unquote. Number 2, I would invent multiculturalism and encourage immigrants to maintain their own culture. I would make it an article of belief that all cultures are equal. There are no cultural differences that are important. That the black and Hispanic dropout rate is only due to prejudice and discrimination by the majority. Every other explanation is out of bounds. How true is that? Number 3, we can make the United States a Hispanic Quebec without much effort. The key is to celebrate diversity rather than unity. As Benjamin Schwartz said in the Atlantic Monthly recently, the apparent success of our own multi-ethnic and multicultural experiment might have been achieved not by tolerance, but by hegemony. Hegemony. Get that right. Without the dominance that once dictated ethnocentricity and what it meant to be an American, we are left with only tolerance and pluralism to hold us together. Number 4, I encourage all immigrants to keep, I say again, I would encourage all immigrants to keep their own language and culture. I would replace the melting pot metaphor with a salad bowl metaphor. I would make our fastest growing demographic group the least educated. I would add a second underclass, unassimilated, undereducated, and antagonistic to our population. That's number 4. Number 5, I would then get the big foundations and big business to give these efforts lots of money. I would invest in ethnic identity. I would establish the cult of victimology. I would start a grievance industry, blaming all minority failure on the majority population. Number 6, I would establish dual citizenship and promote divided loyalties. I would celebrate diversity. It stresses differences rather than commonalities. Diverse people worldwide are mostly engaged in hating each other when they are not killing each other. That's okay, and it goes on with number 6 here. A diverse, peaceful, or stable society is against most historical precedent. Let's start that over. A diverse, peaceful, or stable society is against most historical precedent. People undervalue the unity it takes to keep a nation together, and we take advantage of this myopia. Dorff's World History tells us the ancient Greeks believed they belonged to the same race. They possessed a common language and literature and worshipped the same gods. All Greece took part in the Olympic Games in honor of Zeus and venerated the shrine of Apollo at Delphi. A common enemy, Persia, threatened their liberty, yet all these bonds together were not strong enough to overcome 2 factors, local patriotism and geographical conditions that nurtured political divisions. Number 7, I would then place all these subjects off limits and make them taboo to talk about. I would find a word similar to heretic in the 16th century that stopped discussion and paralyzed thinking. Words like racist and xenophobe halt argument and conversation. I would next make it impossible to enforce our immigration laws. I would develop a mantra because immigration has been good for America. It must always be good. Number 8, Lastly, I would censor Victor Davis Hanson's book, Mexiphonia. This book is dangerous. It exposes my plan to destroy America. This guy is onto my plan. Once again, the title of the book is Mexiphonia. Instead of California, it's Mexiphonia. The author is Victor Davis Hanson, Hanson. That's Hotel Alpha November, Sierra Oscar November. Victor Davis Hanson, his book is Mexiphonia. Ladies and gentlemen, from what little I know about the former governor of Colorado, Richard Lamb, there's probably not much I agree with in terms of beliefs and so forth on one hand. On the other, what he wrote here, this short opinion that he wrote, is absolutely brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. That's why it's on my website. I don't lightly or haphazardly post things on my website. A lot of thought goes into anything and everything that gets posted on my website. Mark Levin did an excellent job in characterizing former Governor Lamb's article here, the speech he gave. He also gave a speech, by the way, at a conference about the same time, about 2006. I believe we would all be well advised to pay heed to the words of the former governor understand what's going on, why it's going on. Why is not given there. Why is obviously, to me, the international communist conspiracy. Okay, getting back to Governor Lamb. Governor Lamb did us all a service, pointing out what's going on with our society, our culture, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing that he did that. It's very helpful to have someone who has the talent to, in just a few short paragraphs, outline what's really going on with our country, to bring us down, to destroy us. My Wednesday guest, the second hour, Jeff Nyquist, he and I talk about this for an hour every week. What Governor Lamb is talking about is part of the picture. It's not the entire picture. The entire picture has to do with what's behind what's going on with the immigration, these demands being made, people refusing to assimilate, and all the things that Governor Lamb pointed out in his article. All those things. What's behind it is international communism. These are not unconnected, spontaneous happenings within our culture. They're just taking place on their own accord. No, not at all. Not at all. And we really need to understand that what's happening to our culture is organized, orchestrated, and very well funded. And Governor Lamb does point out the funding in his article. Money coming from corporations and foundations. There was a expose of foundations done many, many years ago, that the foundations were, such as the Ford Foundation and others, were spending tens of millions of dollars to undermine our culture and destroy our society. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? I don't know. But they are, and they have been for decades. They've been doing it for decades. And let's see here. I got Governor Lamb's article here. Okay, well, he says here in his article, number 5, I would then get the big foundations and big business to give these efforts lots of money. Now, that one sentence says a lot. It says an awful lot. And people need to be aware of that when they buy various products, that money's being fed into these foundations from their purchases, and the foundations use that money for what's clearly un-American activities. Very clearly un-American activities. Here's our break. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
All right, we are back this morning for public broadcasting on Thursday. It is Thursday, the 5th day of December. My website is thelibertyman.com. You may be thinking about going on the Caribbean cruise with us. As far as I know, we still have Cuban cabins available. A romantic cruise, a fun cruise, educational, the John Moore Patriot Symposium cruise. How about that? Details at my website. You can call our cruise director, Betsy Murphy, and she'll mail you a nice brochure. What a great time to be away from the snow and the cold, the second week of February. Betsy's phone number, 636-530-9502. I say again, 636-530-9502. And, of course, I will be speaking in Orlando on Saturday, the 8th day of February. We now have that posted right below the posting for the cruise. You can buy your tickets right there at that location. And it'd be good to meet as many of you folks as can get there. Leon Green will be with us, of course. Going back to Governor Lamb's article, he hasn't mentioned communists. I don't know what the man knows. I've never met the man, don't know what his knowledge is. In this particular area, he has great knowledge when it comes to this particular aspect of what's going on in our society, our culture, our country. So I don't know if he has knowledge of the international communist conspiracy. If he did, then he would know that the two are connected. This is not a standalone phenomenon. The issue of mass migration, illegal immigrants not assimilating, and it's part of a grand plan to have the United States collapse and the world be dominated by Russia and China. That is the plan. That is the plan. And you need to be aware of that. You really need to educate yourself. We keep encouraging that. Myself and Jeff Nyquist and others here at Republic Broadcasting encourage you to to keep studying and keep learning and get active. We have an election in less than 11 months. It's, well, yeah, right at 11 months. First Tuesday in November. And if you're not registered to vote, well, get registered to vote. If you have conservative friends that are not registered to vote, we'll find out if they are, if they'll tell you they're not. Offer to give them a drive to the courthouse and get registered to vote. If they need to arrive to the polling place, first Tuesday in November 2020, offer to give them a ride. Child care, whatever it takes to get these people to vote. This needs to happen nationwide. We need an overwhelming support, overwhelming turnout, overwhelming win for President Donald J. Trump. And it's 11 months away. It's only 11 months away. This time will fly by. It's going to be 2020 here in 4 weeks, in less than 4 weeks. We will know with some certainty who the declared candidate's going to be in about 2 to 3 months at the most, 3 months at the most. It'll be really clear who the candidate's going to be for the Democrats. We might be surprised. We may not be. I don't know. The money seems to be on Joe Biden right now, but don't count Hillary out. She's been making a media splash all around the country now for a number of months. I would not count her out at all. In a way, I kind of hope it is Hillary. President Trump held back the first time. He was mostly polite, mostly a gentleman. He's not going to hold back at all this time. He's going to let her have it with both barrels. We have a bottom of the hour break coming up here momentarily. And Tom Berryhill will be with us. And we're going to talk about a marvelous healing device called the Energy Cleanser. So that's always fun to talk to Tom and get caught up on what's going on with him and let people know about the Energy Cleanser. We have new listeners every week. And a lot of people never heard of the Energy Cleanser. And they need to. With the health conditions we have in this country, people need the Energy Cleanser. They really do. It may be the best $285 you ever spend in your life. Really, it may be. So I think people need to check that out and think about it, pray about it, and then place your order for an Energy Cleanser and mattress pad to go with it. Okay, and then at the top of the hour, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have Steve Hunt, the John Moore Radio Show economic advisor. And Steve will help us get caught up on what's going on with the economy. A lot of things going on with the economy, as always. And Steve stays close to this and stays on top of it. So I hope that you'll be able to stay tuned for that second hour and hear what Steve has to say. If you haven't read Governor Lamb's article that I read, I encourage you to read it. I encourage you to listen to Mark Levin's audio commentary on the same article. You need to do that. You got a break. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 24 minutes I look forward to every week. We've been doing this every week now for about 10 years. And this is the 24 minutes we take to talk to Tom Berryhill, the manufacturer of the Energy Cleanser, a marvelous healing device to encourage people to educate themselves, learn about the Energy Cleanser, and then start getting their life back. And we begin these conversations with my friend Tom Berryhill giving us the disclaimer. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, John. Good morning. We're not doctors or medical professionals. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. The information discussed today is for your education and entertainment only. If you have a medical condition requiring treatment, you should utilize the services of a medical doctor, chiropractor, or other competent practitioner.
All right. Well, sir, we're wrapping up another year here. It'll be 2020 in less than a month. And this is the time of year people start making their New Year's resolutions, which almost always have one or more resolutions regarding health and weight loss, those kinds of things, don't they, Tom?
Well, I think so. I always have, but hopefully some of these people will consider the energy cleaner, which should be quite a boost for their health.
Well, of course it will. And people in this country suffering with arthritis is a huge percentage of people that have arthritis to a greater or lesser extent. People that aren't sleeping well, there's another big percentage of people. And people with general pain issues, back pain and so forth, it's not arthritis. Between those three issues, we're looking at well more than half the adults in this country, aren't we, sir?
Well, John, arthritis is everywhere. We have an aging population. The baby boomers are showing up and just in mass, and they have a lot of pain issues, arthritis issues, and the energy cleaner will help so much with that to alleviate some of that pain. If they're on any kind of pain medication, it's very likely that they can cut back on the dosages because the energy cleaner will amplify any effects they're already getting from those medications. And it might be a good thing that if they're able to cut back on the pain meds, it would take the load off their kidneys and liver.
Absolutely it would. So here we are, the first Thursday of December, and we're talking to people, we're bringing them to the water being the energy cleaner. With my guest appearance I'm doing with Doug Hagman every Monday now, we're picking up a lot of new listeners, people who don't know who John Moore is, never heard of the energy cleaner, don't have a clue who Tom Berryhill is. So we have a lot of fresh faces out there listening to us right now, Tom. So we'll begin from the beginning. The energy cleaner is an electronic healing device. It is not a rifle machine. It is not a TENS unit. That's the two things people confuse it with. It's entirely different technology. About the size of a cigar box. Takes 9 Ds and delta, 9 D-cell batteries. No on-off switch, no gauges, no dials, simply one LED light that alternately flashes red or green, telling you two things. First of all, it's working. Second of all, it's changing polarity. And one place to plug in one wire. That's it. If this thing was any more, I can't imagine something being more simple, Tom. Could you?
No, it's very simple, and we designed it that way to be plug and play. Once you put the batteries in, put the front cover on it, it's ready to go, and you don't have to think about it for at least a year.
Right.
Of course,
a year later,
we advise.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, well, we advise people to change the batteries on an annual basis, not because they are worn out or getting weak. The energy cleaner will run for several years on one set of batteries, 24/7. But what happens, and this is with any electronic equipment, as the batteries age, they start to leak, and the leakage will cause damage to the equipment, to the electronic equipment. So you want to change the batteries on an annual basis. Just put a paper tag or a piece of tape, something on it you can write on with the date that they need to be changed.
And that's what I do myself. I've got 3 energy cleaners I use for different purposes, and all my energy cleaners have paper tags advising when to change out the batteries. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you just heard about the energy cleaner today, you're thinking, man, what's a homicide detective and an engineer talking about health? Well, we are. And I have no credentials when it comes to health, but I do have credentials when it comes to making observations and interviewing witnesses. These witnesses, of course, are men and women who got their life back because of the energy cleaner. People like our friend Steve Whitman, for example, gives the energy cleaner and John Moore credit for saving his life, literally saving his life. My friend Tim Spencer, who went from being and a semi-invalid to riding his ponies and climbing radio towers in less than a year because of the energy cleaner. I just talked to Tim this morning, by the way, Tom, and he says hello. So at my website, at thelibertyman.com, you'll see a drop-down menu under products, and the energy cleaner is listed right there. And you'll see several things. And I'm going to click on it right now and see what we got. So we have these different places to educate yourself. First, what is the energy cleaner? And then we have testimonials from people like Steve Whitman, and a little box for the mattress pads that go with it. Details the 90-day money-back guarantee, and then information on recommended uses of the energy cleaner. What we see a lot of times is somebody will get it and they'll like it and they'll be using it, and then a friend of theirs or a relative will have an issue and they'll loan the energy cleaner to that person who has arthritis, and it turns out the loan almost always ends up being permanent, doesn't it?
Yes, it's almost look at it as a gift, because once you loan that machine to somebody, it's very likely you won't see it anymore. What I've seen happen is one person loans it out, and then that person they loaned it to shows it to somebody else and lets them try it for a while, and they show it to somebody else, and it just takes off from there, and they never see it again. So be careful with that. But then it does open the eyes of other people that have had a chance to try it. And then in many cases, those people then contact us and they want to get one themselves.
Absolutely. Well, it's counterintuitive to tell you that this little black box will do things that a hospital occupying a square block of a major city with tens of millions of dollars worth of equipment, hundreds of men and women that have gone with education 8 and 10 years and 12 years past high school to get their various professional credentials, that this little black plastic box can do things that these hospitals and these marvelous pieces of equipment at the hospitals and all the healthcare professionals can't do. But that's what we're telling you. That's exactly what we're telling you. And we have the evidence. The evidence is in the fact of all these witnesses that have had their lives saved, got their lives back, because your arthritis pain's gone, the back pain's gone. You're sleeping like I do every night. I sleep as good as a small child every night. I wake up refreshed and pain-free, ready to meet the opportunities and the demand and the challenges of the day. And you can also. You can get your life back. You can get past the arthritis pain. You can get a great night's sleep every night. And all you need to do is make the decision. And it is a decision. The decision to get the energy cleaner and start using it. Get the energy cleaner, the mattress pad to go with it. And here's what happens when you're sleeping on that energy cleaner signal. That signal goes to every cell in your body, flushing out toxins, bringing in fresh nutrition. That's how it works. That's what it does. And it works. We notice things like faster hair growth, faster fingernail, toenail growth, little indicators that clearly mean that you're getting optimal health, right, Tom?
Yes, that's correct, John. And I've told so many people over the years that were planning on a surgery that they should put the energy cleaner pad over that surgical incision as soon as they get home, because in many cases that incision location will heal up with absolutely no scarring. Not in every case, but in many cases. And some people were happy just with the reduced scarring. But I know personally several people that did that, and it healed up, and you couldn't tell there was ever an incision made, to the total amazement of the surgeon after several months of healing, and they went back for a follow-up care, and they could not even notice any type of incision that was made. So that really does amaze the medical doctors. You can actually have some fun with it.
That's right. And that's what happened with Steve Whitman. He was shot 3 times with a .45 caliber pistol. When he went back for his first checkup to the surgeon, the doctor was so shocked at how quickly and rapidly Steve was healing that the doctor called in several people on the floor to be witnesses to also observe the rapid healing that Steve was experiencing. Plus, there are several bonuses. First of all, if you're a gardener, they're gardening fruits and vegetables or ornamental plants, the energy cleaner signal will help them. If you have cats and dogs, the energy cleaner will help the cats and dogs. There's many other uses for the energy cleaner, aren't there, Tom?
Oh, yeah, John, and speaking of pets, even an aquarium, there's people that will take a piece of copper wire or stainless steel wire, anything that won't rust or corrode, and they will hang that over like a candy cane fashion, form that piece of wire like that shape, and then hang it over the side of an aquarium and clip the energy cleaner wire onto that piece of wire, and it will energize all the water in that aquarium and actually help the fish. So we've had many cases of good results with that.
Absolutely. And these tropical fish can be quite pricey too, can't they?
Yeah, they can. And this has been installed in saltwater and freshwater aquariums, so it doesn't matter what type of aquarium it is. It works quite well, large, small, even if you had a small fish bowl with a goldfish in it, it would still have the same effect on that fish.
Well, in about 3 months or so, depending on where you live, people are going to be starting their seedlings. And looks like we got a call in here. We got Hendricks in Mississippi. Good morning, Hendricks.
Good morning, Tom and John. My testimony isn't as dramatic as Steve Whitman's, but I had a tooth extracted last week, and I used the energy cleaner. I took that alligator clipped it to one of those small pie tins that you can get for individuals,
right,
and put a washcloth over my cheek where the extraction took place, and put that little pie tin next to my cheek. And I tell you, the difference in the pain that comes with all those shots they give you to numb the area, that's usually what hurts me more after the extraction, when the Novocaine wears off than the actual extraction area. And I just got to tell you, it mitigated that tremendously. It didn't totally eliminate it, but it was certainly much better than it was in the past when I've gone through such procedures. So I know that's not, like I say, not as dramatic as Steve Whitman's, but it sure makes a difference. In 2017, in April, my left hip popped out of joint. And ever since I've been using the energy cleaner, which is closing in on 2 years now, I don't have no pain. It's basically healed. Every once in a while, I'll do something stupid to aggravate it myself, but it's because of my actions, not because of the energy cleaner, and it does make a difference. So, like I say, that's not as dramatic as Steve Whitman, as I said before, but it certainly does make a difference in your life. With all the work and things that we do around home, like you do in your farm there in Missouri. So, like I say, that's just testimony of the fact that this does work, and I hope all you people out there will take advantage of John's proposal to get this and use it in your life to make your life much better. Thank you. Have a great day, and y'all take care. Tom.
Thank you, Hendricks. Thank you, Hendricks. We appreciate the call. The call number is 800-313-9443 here at Republic Broadcasting. Well, Hendricks' story is not isolated. It's actually more the norm than not, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, that's true, John. And that Hendricks got me thinking and remembering what a woman did years ago. She had contacted me and told me a similar story. But what she did is she took some aluminum foil and rolled it up so that it was kind of shaped like I hate to say this, but a cigarette. She clipped the wire onto that from the energy cleaner, and she just gently would bite down on that where they had done the dental work in her mouth. So she actually had the aluminum foil in her mouth and clipped onto that, and she put that energy right on the spot that was painful, and she said she had complete elimination of pain by doing that. So she got it right into that area. So Hendricks might even consider that if he's still dealing with that pain issue.
I'm not so sure I want to put aluminum in my mouth. If I could find some copper foil, or something other than aluminum.
Well, John, aluminum foil is not going to hurt. You see, you have to have current flow or electrolysis to take place, and there is no current. The energy cleaner is an electrostatic signal, so there's no current flow.
I'm not talking about the electricity.
But you could use well, if you wanted to, even steel, wool, anything metal would work. Even just a short piece of copper wire. You could do that. That would work.
Yeah. I would use copper or steel before I'd use aluminum. Because, I don't want to have aluminum in my mouth, really, not for any reason. But steel or copper, yeah, sure, why not? Or silver or gold, anything with aluminum. Well, that's good. That's good. And we got a break coming up here, but people need to check this out on my website, study up on the patent application information, and make a decision. We got a break. We'll be right back. I think. I thought I heard music. I heard some kind of electronic sound thing. Maybe we didn't have the break yet. Well, Tom, people procrastinate. They find out about the energy cleaner, they think about it, they ponder it, and they wait weeks, don't they?
Yes, they do, John, and I think we'll talk more about that after the break.
And we do have a break. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we are back. This is General back. Jared Borger on Thursday, the 5th of December. Well, the energy cleaner is for sale at my website, $285, shipping included, 2 American zip codes, mattress pads that go with it. They do vary in price depending on what you need. We've got twin, full, queen, king, California king, the handy travel size. You can place your order right there at my website using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Don't try to get a hold of me. This is an order line only. 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. And this is my home business. When you place your order, I'm the guy that boxes them up. I take them to a little country post office in Cherryville, Missouri, where they have all-you-can-eat catfish buffet every Friday for $8. How about that? All the coffee you can drink all day long for 75 cents. And, this is what I do. I put it on the counter there at the little country post office. It goes out priority mail, signature confirmation, and typically you'll get it in about 3 days in most parts of the country. And Tom, once they get the energy cleaner, get it set up, get the batteries on it, get the mattress pad on, then they're on their way to getting their life back, aren't they, sir?
Yes, they are, John. And before the break, we mentioned the procrastinators. And so we've heard this so many times over the years. People heard about this, and then they get into a issue with some pain or other healing problems in their life, and they get an energy cleaner. They've been thinking about it, but they put it off. Those are the procrastinators we mention quite often. And
right.
Then they wonder, why did they wait so long? Why did they wait weeks, months, sometimes years? that
Right.
they finally realize what it can do for them and help them in their life, and now they can go forward and not look back.
10 years ago this fall, I gave Tim Spencer an energy cleaner, a mattress pad, the batteries were installed, and he still waited 2 weeks. And he regrets to this day the 2 weeks of more productive, fun life that he lost because he procrastinated, having everything sitting there on the table waiting to be installed. So procrastination is an expected human response. I expect it, Tom. You respect it. But you need to get past it. You need to get past the procrastination and step up to the plate, spend the money. Yeah, I know for some people, $300 or $400 for an energy cleaner and a mattress pad is a lot of money. I understand that. On one hand. On the other, the value of getting your life back, the value of having the energy to do the things you love, whether it's work at your chosen profession, having fun with family and friends, golfing, fishing, walking in the park, whatever it might be, all those things become more fun and more accessible once you start using energy cleaner, don't they, Tom?
That's very true, John. It truly is. And it's so simple to set up. The only thing you have to do is just get it into your budget for the purchase, and then your total cost from then on is going to be about $10 a year, because $10, $12 a year. So you can round that off to about $1 a month, and that's just for the cost of the batteries that have to be replaced on an annual basis.
That's less than two postage stamps. $1 a month,
that's
less
right.
than 2 postage stamps. With what people spend on healthcare, this is a pittance. Tom, thank you, sir. We'll have you back tomorrow morning. We'll talk about emergency communications.
Thank you, John.
Okay. Top of the hour break. We'll be back with the John Moore Radio Show Economic Advisor. Stay tuned.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Moore here on Thursday, the 5th day of December. The perfect tip of the day, I want to encourage people to learn how to use a topographical map, a landsat compass, and do cross-country navigation. Less than 5% of the adults in this country have a clue how to do that. Maybe you should become one of them. That would be a really good thing. It may save your life. We're patient waiting in the green room. My friend Steve Hunt. Steve Hunt is the John Moore Radio Show Economic Advisor. You go to my website at thelibertyman.com. You'll see right at the top of my homepage what looks like a Christmas gift, a red box with a gold ribbon. You just click on that, and that's Steve Hunt's Swiss America landing page, where you can sign up to get some beautiful literature mailed to you that will help educate you about what's really going on with this economy, both historically and in the current day. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, John.
Well, sir, the economy's been kind of pushed to the backside of the news with what's going on with in the U.S. Congress and these make-believe impeachment hearings. But the economy and all the importance it has to us is not going away at all, has it?
No, sir, not at all.
So there's a lot of concern about this bubble that we're experiencing popping, and there's never been a bubble that didn't pop, has there?
No, everything's a cycle, unfortunately. You know, you can go back to every economic system. I mean, most cycles run 8 to 10 years. You know, it's kind of like clockwork. You can go back through it. You can say that it's attached to a catastrophe, or you could say that it's a bad timing thing, like quantitative easing, but everything lines right up with that 8 to 10 year scale.
And on that 8 to 10 year scale, where are we, sir?
We're on year 10 right now.
All right. Well, I really hope and pray that the president can hold this economy together until the election, the first Tuesday in November next year. Because if anything happens, he'll get the blame for it, even though he had nothing to do with it, won't he?
Well, he'll get the blame for it 2 presidents from now. I mean, they're going to try and pin everything on him. I mean, you look at what Pelosi's saying this morning. King Trump. I mean, this is ridiculous. You've never seen something like this with any other president in history.
No.
Everybody's against one single person, and they're so vocal about it. It's so disrespectful. It's crazy.
It is, and they're creating crime where there is no crime. They're talking about articles of impeachment because the president did his job. If foreign aid is going to any country, the executive branch, which the president's the head of it, has a duty, has a responsibility to ferret out corruption in that country, especially if it's corruption involving American officials. Good grief, of course he has. So he was doing his job by looking into corruption, and who better to look into corruption of a country other than the newly elected president of that country in Ukraine, which he agreed to do so, which is the right thing. So they're trying to criminalize the president's duty, which was, in this case, his responsibility to look for, find, and take care of corruption involving American officials. And American citizens in the country that the foreign aid was going to. That's his job. And I know that's going to be pointed out. It's been pointed out already. I'm not the first person to say this by any means. But it's a massive distraction, a distraction away from what really needs to be taking place in Congress, which is taking care of the people's business. And we've given some warnings here on this show here, Steve, about a potential real estate banking crisis in February, which is less than 3 months away, due to tens of thousands of mortgages being made to illegal aliens for residences and businesses exploding and becoming a national crisis. That by itself, if it happens, it could cause great turmoil in our economy, plus automobile loans turning upside down. So we got a double whammy there, don't we, sir?
We sure do, and those auto loans, I mean, they're so far much larger than they've ever been before. I mean, you're talking people are getting loans for cars that are $70,000, $80,000. I mean, a new Ford truck is now $65,000, $70,000, and these people are so far out of their means, and they're getting 8 to 10 year loans. I mean, the banks are have a lot at fault to this. It's not just people's fault. I mean, when a bank comes to somebody, and they say, hey, you can get this nicer car, we'll just go 8 to 10 years instead of the typical 5-year loan. I mean, what do they expect to happen?
Well, they're only looking at short-term profits. That's the American way. Look at quarterly profits instead of what's going to happen 4 or 5 or 8 or 10 years into the future. That's the nature of American business, isn't it?
It sure is. Everybody wants the quick income and the quick buck. They're not too worried about, the other side of this. So they're going to learn.
Well, they are. And it's amazing. I was talking to a friend the other day, a very dear friend I've known since high school, and he was looking at new pickup trucks. And the ones he's looking at were in the $50,000 to $60,000 range, and he just shook his head and turned around and walked out. These dollar amounts are just off the charts crazy. And the banks make very agreeable terms to make it appear like it's a good thing to do, don't they?
They do, unfortunately. I mean, you take a $70,000 car that, your normal payment's going to be, $1,400 a month on a 5-year loan, and you stretch it to 10 years, and all of a sudden you're paying $600 a month, and everybody goes, ooh, that sounds great. It's not, and then you're paying, 10% interest. You're digging yourself such a gigantic hole, it's almost worse than a credit card.
Well, in my neighborhood, you can buy a nice, and it's not going to be Better Homes and Gardens quality, but a nice 3-bedroom ranch-style home that is beautiful. It has everything works properly. You wouldn't be ashamed to bring any of your friends or relatives to it for less than $100,000, typically $80,000, $85,000, which is not much more than these trucks we're talking about, the cars. So something's upside down and backwards when you can buy a very nice house for about the same money as a new pickup truck. What's broken with that, Steve?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you don't have internet access and you want to get a hold of Steve and have him mail you these free reports, you can just give him a call at 800-630-1491. I say again, 800-630-1491. Steve, I have neighbors that don't have internet access, and they could care less. They really could care less. And don't know what a smartphone is. Don't care. They could care less. May not even have a cellular telephone. But they still need the information. And that's why we give out this telephone number for people who do not have internet access, people who don't have a smartphone, so they can get equal access to the same information. Right, Steve?
Of course. Give me a call. I'll mail it out to you, physical mail. We don't charge you a penny for it. It's free information. I mean, our whole goal here is to make sure that everybody has enough knowledge about what's happening. I mean, the typical person isn't going to be looking at the news sources this morning or late last night seeing what's coming out. I mean, there's news going on in Germany and Europe right now where everybody's freaking out about more negative interest rates. They've been doing negative interest rates on $100,000 accounts, and now they're about to make it to all savings accounts. It doesn't matter how much it is, and they're increasing the negative rate. They're about to go even worse. And you've got people coming out, Deutsche Bank CEO Christian Suing's coming out saying that this is going to ruin the financial system. The head of Credit Suisse and the head of UBS coming out saying that negative interest rates are crazy. It means the money's not worth anything anymore. I mean, people are all talking about this around the planet. This isn't just a local thing. I mean, there's a bigger problem here, that has to do with money, and unfortunately, because the U.S. dollar is the world reserve, these other countries are all going to be impacted by this. So you've got to look globally to see what's happening.
For those who don't know, a negative interest rate works like this. We're not that far from it here in this country. If you put your money in a savings account in the bank, you pay the bank instead of the bank paying you. That's a negative interest rate. I talked to my bank about a month ago about what CD interest we're paying. It was less than 1%. I thought they had decimal point in the wrong place. I said, no, John, it's less than 1%. And it's insane. And of course, the money that you're paying them to keep safe and secure for you, they loan out at a rate of interest themselves, don't they, sir?
Well, yeah. I mean, everybody has to understand when you put your money in the bank, all you're doing is you're finding a better place to put it than, on your shelf or in your dresser. I mean, a bank is just a vault. It's just no different than the safe in your house, except it's insured in case, it gets robbed. It's not insured if the value of the dollar crashes. So, it's two different things. If the dollar crashes and the system falls apart, like even the central bank is talking about, the central bank has acknowledged that there's a problem with currency and that the U.S. dollar is potentially, on the verge of a collapse. And they said that if it does collapse, we have a backup plan. We're going to use gold. The fact that these other, the central banks and different financial institutions are acknowledging the problem should be a massive eye-opening extravaganza for everybody. I mean, if the biggest companies and the biggest banks and the biggest billionaires in the world are all buying gold and they're all getting their money out of the markets and they're all trying to prepare for this massive, collapse, well, why wouldn't you do it? Why let them benefit when they've benefited for years? Do the same thing. Take advantage of it.
Well, everybody needs to educate themselves, become aware of this, and do what's appropriate for them and their particular situation. And everybody's got their own unique situation. And Steve's job is to help you clarify what your situation is and what's going to be appropriate and proper for your individual situation when it comes to acquisition of gold and silver, right, Steve?
Well, of course, but it's not only that. I've helped other listeners from your show. We've talked about a number of different things. What happens if you need to barter? What happens, one guy wanted to get real estate and didn't know that he could get real estate inside of a retirement account. I told him that here's some people he can go talk to. I have nothing to do with it. But, I'm going to help you through, whatever avenue. It's my intention is not to get you to send me money. My intention is to make you aware of what's happening and protect yourself. That's all I care about. And no matter what it is, even if you want to go buy a rare car from Barrett-Jackson, and that's, it's something that's a tangible asset that you can hold on to that you can resell down the road when things get reestablished. It's not going to be very good for bartering, but, at least your money is, parked somewhere better than the bank.
Right. Well, I bought my tangible asset a month ago, a half-century-old British sports car, which I'm in the garage pretty much every night doing little things with it. This week's project is replacing the headlights, which has been a challenge, but a fun challenge. And but it's a tangible asset. It's something that in the future I will have to sell if and when that time comes, or once I'm gone, my daughter could sell it if she chooses to, and have that tangible asset be turned into cash. But tangible assets can be all kinds of different things, can't they, Steve?
Oh, of course they can. I mean, you could buy, toilet paper. You can buy ammunition. You can buy guns. You can buy gold, silver. I mean, art. You can buy anything that holds a value that another person's going to want to acquire as a tangible asset. And it's got to be something that you can hold in your hands or have in your possession, not something that's on paper. I mean, a stock is not a tangible asset because you get a certificate that says you're invested in something. That's not a tangible asset. A tangible asset means it's in your possession at your house, that you physically have it. That is something of protection.
Absolutely. So if you want to figure out this part of the possibilities, the part being acquisition of gold and silver, which takes up very little space, is very portable. You can take a gold coin to the most remote village in the Amazon, and it will be recognized as having value. It is ubiquitous worldwide. Gold coins are recognized as having value no matter what part of the planet you go to, aren't they, Steve?
Well, yeah, it's the most recognized thing on the planet because every country can test it. They can see the quality of it. They know what the value is. I mean, the Chicago COMEX and the London Fix and the Shanghai Gold Exchange, I mean, they're all, very similar prices. The only thing that's going to be different here very soon is when India and United Arab Emirates open up their gold trading platform and tie it to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. I do expect those three to go through the roof. And I think London Fix and Chicago COMEX will be playing catch-up.
Well, they probably will. And is there a date for that to happen? Do you know?
I have not. I've been watching very closely, and they haven't announced the date that it's going to start.
Okay. Do you anticipate they will announce it in advance or just surprise us?
No, I think they're going to announce it probably a week before.
Okay, about a week before. Well, that'll be a good heads up. And of course, you can, if you get that before the next show, whatever that my next show might be, then you can let us all know what's happening, and then we can track it and see what happens afterwards, can't we?
Of course. Yep. We're all going to know. I mean, it's going to be big news. I mean, when everybody has to understand how big India is in gold, and China. I mean, China and India, you're talking about the two biggest users and buyers of gold. So when they get controlling of the pricing system for metal, I mean, the sky is the limit. There's no more manipulation. There's no more devalued dollars that are using it for the value. Everybody has to understand what's happening with the dollar and why I say devalued. We are doing repos overnight between $90 to $130 billion a night, where the Fed is cashing out securities and funding the banks still. This thing that we talked about 2 months ago that was supposed to last a week to 2 weeks is now 2 months in, and we're still cashing out $100 billion a night. And then come morning time, the Fed creates $60 billion out of thin air to throw into the market and keep the market up. Well, when you create money, you're devaluing the dollar every single day. $60 billion is a lot of money to create out of thin air every single day to support a stock market. So when you create it, you're devaluing the dollar is going down, which means every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go to the gas station, you're going to get less in return for the dollar that you have in the bank. So,
absolutely.
We have this price of gold that is, $1,400, $1,500, $1,600, and it keeps steadily going up. That's because the dollar is being printed so heavily that the gold price is going up and the dollar is going down. Well, you look at what China is going to do with India and United Arab Emirates and now Russia. They buy gold and they're pricing this through their own, and they're backing their currency now with gold. That's a big deal. Everybody's going to be in for a surprise.
Hold that thought. We have a break. Call number is 800-313-9443.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Jared Moore here on Thursday, the 5th of December. Steve, we got a caller on hold here. We had Kyle in Montana. Good morning, Kyle.
Good morning, gentlemen. Steve, I've got a question for you, being as you mentioned that the India-China thing. Haven't we heard this before? I mean, and then it made no impact on the markets. I'm just curious, even if they join together, how much, in a sense, I'm playing the devil's advocate here to try to understand it better. How much actual control can they possibly have over a system that these international bankers control the entire world's, pretty much the entire world's supply of this, even if it's on paper?
Yeah, well, no one's heard about them making their own gold platform, and that's brand new. I mean, China came out with the Shanghai Gold Exchange a couple of years ago, and they've been really doing business with it. Then they just used that metal and that metal market to back their currency system. The minute they did that, they applied for inclusion into the World Reserve basket, and they got inclusion into the World Reserve basket. When they did that, they got 14%, I think it was, of an inclusion, but the thing that's scary about that is 10% of that came from our holding, and then the rest came from the other, countries that are in there. And they're using that to price metal, and they've been pricing it very closely to what the rest of the world is doing. But the problem is that India said, we like this, and because it doesn't have a U.S. dollar influence in it, we're going to create one as well. That they've never done that as well. I mean, India, United Arab Emirates, China, they've never done anything like this. The problem is do you know about the BRICS Bank, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay, so you got Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. All these countries are creating this new bank system, this new central bank that's for them, and it's completely against the U.S. dollar. And they've been trying to find ways to separate themselves from the Central Bank of Americas and Europe and everything else. And I think the problem is they're starting to find a way to separate themselves enough, and they're going to use gold. I mean, they're absolutely going to use gold because we don't do it. I mean, everything that they do is a way to fight us in a trade war. Every time they devalue their currency is a way to fight us in a trade war. When they go to negative interest rates, it's a way to fight us, and they're doing everything they can to get more in trade from us because we're having this trade battle between them, and nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah, let me ask a question. When I said we had seen this before, the BRICS is what I was referring to. I should have been more clear. And when we kept hearing about the BRICS coming in, and they were going to, destroy the dollar, and everything was going to collapse. I mean, you hear that stuff all over the internet, but nothing really ever happened in the sense. You know what I mean?
No, I think the BRICS Bank, I think, was created like 2014, 2015 time. I mean, it's only been in existence for about 4 or 5 years. And, really they formed it, and, they put, I think it was $100 billion into it. I mean, $100 billion is what the United States is repoing every night to fund the U.S. banks. I mean, $100 billion was nothing. That was their money to deposit just to get the account open, basically. And, they weren't doing a whole heck of a lot with $100 billion. So, it's taken them some time to figure out how they're going to hold things. They hold their meetings every year in Shanghai. That's where their headquarters is at. And they haven't been having this battle with the United States the past 5 years. This just started happening, of course, because Trump doesn't want to see the United States being taken advantage of. And now China's been escalating this at a very fast pace the last year. So it's I think this is a lot different than anybody's ever experienced.
Okay. All right. Well, I was just trying to get a little clearer picture of this. And so your opinion is that the United Arab Emirates and India are actually going to be able to fund something that is going to have a world impact? I mean, because those two guys together, even though they have a bit of money, they're not much compared to the rest of the world.
No, they're not, but the amount of gold that they buy is significant. You look at how much gold China and Russia buys every year, it dwarfs the United States. The United States doesn't buy that much gold. Okay, and supposedly we have all this, imaginary gold in Fort Knox. But you look at what's being bought by China. They're the largest producer of gold. India buys more gold than everybody as well. For such a small country, they have a large impact on the gold market. And the fact that they want to have an influence in the pricing of it, that should worry everybody. Especially when we're talking, there's so much rumor right now about trade agreements between Russia, China, and the United States, and talks being held that they're going to use gold to price the trade. I mean, that's a significant impact.
Yeah, it is. And so, do you think that as a rule, do you think anything that affects gold is going to affect silver? And
oh yeah,
excuse me.
Oh yeah.
But what I meant was, is there anything in this scenario that would affect the gold-silver ratio, you think?
I think silver has been manipulated by J.P. Morgan and the Hunt brothers back in the day. I think silver is going to catch up, and it's going to catch up in a dramatic way.
Gentlemen, we're out of time here. Kyle, thank you for the call.
Thank you.
See you. Have you back next week.
You got it. Sounds good. Take care.
On the hour break, we'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday. It is Thursday, the first Thursday of December. We have a John Moore Radio Show meetup tonight in Rolla, Missouri at the Benton Square Restaurant. They no longer call it the Benton Square Restaurant. They call it DePanteri's or something. I don't know, it's some kind of Italian. It's at Benton Square. A 100-year-old schoolhouse rehabbed into a restaurant, upscale spa for women to do the things that women like to do with their nails and hair and all that stuff. A very nice place, and we get together for dinner at 4:30 in the public dining area, and at 6 o'clock we go upstairs to the private meeting room, to have our discussion. You do not need to buy dinner. A lot of people don't buy dinner; they show up for the public discussion at 6 p.m. and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I'll be there myself. I'll get to the public dining area about 4:30 or so. We used to get there at 5 o'clock, but we found that an hour we had enough time to visit. We take about an hour and a half to visit and get caught up, and then we go upstairs for the discussion. That's this evening, and look forward to seeing the people that can make it. Okay, well, I'm trying a new microphone here. I've been told that it is working better. I don't know the microphone I was using. I'll be checking it to see if there's any connections that need to be addressed, or maybe I don't know what's going on with it. It's a new microphone, and it was working perfectly until about 2 or 3 days ago. But we'll be addressing that when the show ends. Okay, well, we've got open lines here. We've got a half an hour. This is a half hour I look forward to every week. We all get caught up on what's on our minds and what is on your mind. This is your show, too. I was just reading an article, a private note actually written by my friend Steve O'Neill, the nuclear scientist. And He's commenting on the Cascadia subduction zone. It's up there off the coast of Washington State, a very, very dangerous subduction zone that has been the source of major earthquakes in the past in recorded history. One set off a tidal wave that took thousands of lives in Japan a few hours later. These tidal waves, when they move across the ocean, they're going not quite the speed of sound. They're going incredibly fast and do a lot of damage. And, of course, my daughter and her family are up there in that area. In fact, my son-in-law was taking me to the airport a couple of weeks ago, and I pointed to Mount Rainier, and I said, that thing starts smoking. It's time to get out of Dodge. And I hope that they pay heed and will get out in time to be safe from whatever happens up there. Apparently, Dave Hodges is coming under attack for his reporting on the Cascadia subduction zone. Very, very dangerous area. Between the possibility of volcanoes and earthquakes, a very dangerous area. And if you've got friends or family up there in the Washington State, Oregon area, they need to be aware of this. There was a range of mountains called the Cascade Mountains. Well, they're not mountains. They're dormant volcanoes, although they're becoming less dormant these days. They're venting and starting to shake, and the possibility of one or more of them exploding is certainly not some fantasy. That is a very clear and present danger. A major volcano going off will ruin your whole day. And we're not talking the kind of volcanoes they have in Hawaii, which are very mild tourist attractions. We can stand there and watch the liquid lava as it flows towards the ocean, sometimes covering up roads. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Mount St. Helens type event, where there's a massive explosion. And so it's something that we're paying attention to. Nothing we can do about it except pay attention and issue warnings. People along the coast are probably at the greatest risk. People closer to the volcanoes are at greater risk. The farther inland you are, the higher elevation you are, the safer you are. My daughter and her family are at a good elevation in terms of tidal waves. But in terms of the volcano, no, they're not in a good place at all. Not at all. I would love to see them down here in Missouri, but that's not up to me. That's their decision. And I respect it. I have no choice but to respect that. Of course I do. The impeachment hearings will continue, I believe, today. I don't know if they go tomorrow, but they will. Nancy Pelosi is making outrageous statements that have no basis in reality. I don't know who's although I have a pretty good idea, it's probably the Chinese. I think she's in bed with the Chinese, quite frankly. To have a Chinese spy be your personal driver for 20 plus years, I mean, how outrageous is that? He had access to pretty much everything Nancy did. The Chinese spy who was her personal driver for 20 plus years. That's not good. That's not good at all. What does this all mean for all of you listening to me out there? You're all over the planet, literally. Most of the United States, of course. I have a lot in Germany, a lot in the various English-speaking countries around the world, and, of course, in Russia. But what does it mean for all of you? It means you need to educate yourself and prepare to take care of life and property on your own without the government helping. That's what you need to be doing. Prepare to be on your own. You think the federal government's going to help you? The same federal government that could not find the Superdome for a week? Yeah, that government, that one, right? The one that couldn't find the Superdome for a week. No, they're not going to help you. You can't count on them. If help comes, hey, that's great. But you can't count on it. The only thing you can count on is your resources and the resources of your family. That's the only thing you can count on. To think you can count on anything else is foolhardy. It really is. It's foolhardy. So what do? What do you do? Well, you have to learn what the threats are and learn how to mitigate the threats. If you're in a dangerous area, such as the Pacific Northwest, maybe you need to get out of it. That might be a good thing to do, relocate. Just physically get away from that. Live in an area that is not as dangerous. Now, every area is subject to natural calamities, of course. There's no area completely safe. But some areas are obviously more dangerous than others. And the Cascadia mountain range, Washington State, eastern Washington, and Oregon are certainly a greater risk than most parts of the country right now. There's some discussion about what may or may not happen with the New Madrid seismic zone. There's earthquakes, and ever since we've had seismologists and the science of seismology, there's been earthquakes measured on New Madrid seismic zone every 24 to 72 hours since they began keeping records. There's nothing new about that. Most of them are in the 1s and 2s. Occasionally get up to 3. Yes, get up to about a 3 before people start feeling it. And that happens at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. It's, according to the seismologists, it's inevitable that the New Madrid will cut loose at some point. And if it's along with other earth changes, we're looking at a strong possibility of the country being split in two, east-west at the Mississippi River. The entire country being split in two, with a inland sea. Now we're not talking a river anymore, a mile wide. We're looking at an inland sea that could be 100 miles wide, a couple hundred feet deep. Well, you don't build bridges across an inland sea. If you did, it would be a very expensive and time-consuming effort, to say the least, if it ever happened at all. No, the United States Northern Command, U.S. NORTHCOM, the newest command of the U.S. Army, shortly after they came into being, about 2 or 3 years later, they split U.S. NORTHCOM east-west at the Mississippi River. All the men and equipment, all the supplies, everything was split east-west at the Mississippi River. My friend Command Sergeant Major Dan Page was at a meeting where this was being announced, and they didn't say why. They didn't tell the troops why they were splitting U.S. NORTHCOM east-west at the Mississippi River. They simply said they were doing it. Then we got a caller on hold here. We got Ron in Utah. Good morning, Ron.
Hey, John. How are you?
Good.
It's good to hear you. Hey, I'm calling in about the Cascadia stuff and our dear friend Dave Hodges being attacked for putting out the truth about Cascadia. I've done a lot of research, John. I don't know whether you know it or not, or you've been told. But I've done a lot of research on Cascadia, and I know it's going to happen. It's a matter of time. The exact date and time, we don't know, but it's going to happen. And I believe it's going to happen soon. Everything points to it. Literally everything points to it. This past week, we've had 5 volcanoes venting, meaning steam eruptions. Not ash and steam, just steam eruptions, which means the magma is just below the summit. For those steam eruptions to be happening, that means water has reached the level above the magma, and it is steaming. It is steaming. 5 volcanoes. Now, if that water actually mixes with the magma, we're going to have a phreatic eruption. We're going to have a phreatic eruption. And
tell people, Ron, what a phreatic eruption is, please.
A phreatic eruption is when the water mixes with the magma, and it is a violent eruption. A violent eruption. It is not just a ash explosion. It is a devastating explosion. A phreatic eruption is water mixing with the magma, and it will cause a devastating explosion. Now, that is one of the signs that Cascadia is going to go. What do I mean by that? That means an earthquake, a large earthquake. Okay? Even the scientists have been saying that there's going to be a large 9.0 earthquake. Some scientists have called for anywhere from a 7 to a 9.5.
Well, let's back up a bit. Almost no human-built structure will survive a 9-point earthquake. Correct, Rob?
No, you're absolutely right. Almost no structure. The earthquake itself, for humans, can be a survivable earthquake. But everybody, and I'm saying everybody, needs to prepare. You need to prepare, and you need to prepare now. I've been calling for people to prepare for years and years, and not just for a Cascadia-type event. I'm talking overall emergency preparedness. You need to have an emergency preparedness plan, one. Don't just think about it. You need to write it down. You need to write these preparedness plans down. If you need an idea of what a preparedness plan is, John's website has information about emergency preparedness plans. If you go to Emergency Management Associates, you go to our website, you're going to find emergency preparedness plans. If you go to our Facebook page, you're going to find emergency preparedness plans in our notes section. But please have an emergency preparedness plan and write it down. Second, you need to have an emergency preparedness kit. You need to have preparedness food. You need to have clothing. And I'm saying right now we're going into the winter season. Well, we are already in the winter season, whether the calendar says we are or not. We're having winter temperatures. You need to change out your clothing. You need to make sure you have winter clothing in your preparedness kit as well as on your person right now. But if you don't have these kits, you don't have the preparedness plan, you're not going to survive in any emergency. And if you do, it'll be for a short time. But you guys need to do it. I'm begging you. Please get these things done. Cascadia will be a survivable event only if you pay attention to what's going on. Now, our friend Dave Hodges is under attack. He came out yesterday and talked about Cascadia and how it's not an imminent situation right now by any stretch of the imagination. It is not going to happen. It could happen today or tomorrow, but right now we don't have any evidence saying that it is imminent. However, people need to pay attention. They need to keep their eye on the ball. This is a situation of life and death. They need to get off their butts and make some decisions. A decision to protect themselves, their families, help their friends get prepared. And also, if you have a business, and I specialize in this, having a preparedness plan for your business. I have written, I don't know how many hundreds of preparedness plans for businesses. If you care about staying in business after an event, you need to have an emergency preparedness plan for your business to stay in business during and after the incident. You need to do this, and people need to take action as soon as they possibly can.
Ron, give people your contact information again. You and I are talking privately, but we need that. Now, is there a telephone number for people to call?
Yes, 619-755.
After the break,
okay.
We'll get that phone number. Hold on.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcast. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Ron, you're still with us, sir?
Yes, I am. You can also contact me at emergencymanagementassociates@gmail.com. Our telephone number is 619-755-3736.
That's 619-755-3736.
Correct.
And what's that last name, Ron?
Tyler, Tyler.
Ron Tyler. Ron, you and I have some mutual acquaintances. I've known Dave Hodges for many years. My marketing lady, Elizabeth, she knows you. I'm glad you finally called in. It's past time for you and I to talk, and you and I will be talking privately here.
I hope so. I look forward to that.
Well, we need to. What's going on with the Cascadia mountain range, volcano range, might be more appropriate. There's a clear and present danger to several millions of people in the U.S. economy in general. Seattle is a big part of our economy. Go ahead.
Right. We have a gentleman who is an expert on Cascadia. His name is Terry Rempel, Rempel. And Terry Rempel has written a paper. If you want a copy of that paper, anyone needs a copy or wants a copy of this paper that he wrote about Cascadia, you can get it from our write us an email and we'll send it to you. However, just so you know, John, we have a copy of this paper, and it's a very serious paper that Terry has written about the dangers of Cascadia and how people need to take action now to protect themselves. And I'll send you a copy of that as well.
Yeah, let's do that, Ron. Yeah, please. Yeah.
It's absolutely necessary. It's going to happen. As for Dave Hodges, we need to prepare or help protect him and pray for that man. He's a great man. Dave Hodges is a wonderful man.
Dave does some great work, and like I say, I've known Dave for quite a few years, and we do visit privately whenever we feel the need to. And I'll be talking. I might have to give him some assistance with whatever he's being attacked with. I do have some expertise in that area, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Ron, I do appreciate the call, and I think you and I are going to be visiting more and getting to know each other better. You're out there in Utah. What community in Utah are you in?
I have been in Utah since 2010, and I've got a background in federal law enforcement as well, John. I started in law enforcement in the mid '80s, and I went to federal law enforcement in 1991, and I completed my federal law enforcement career in 2009 because Obama cut the federal budget for federal law enforcement, and a bunch of us got laid off and retired because we had more tenure than anybody else.
Right.
And in fact, I trained my replacement, but I know this is happening. I've got extensive experience when I was in federal law enforcement. I worked in emergency management and helping people prepare and stuff. I know this is happening. We got to
it is, Ron.